The towering spires of the Concord Summit Hall gleamed like silver needles against the alien sky, their surfaces alive with holographic displays celebrating peace. Inside, delegates from a dozen species filled the vast chamber, their varied forms creating a tapestry of galactic unity. The air hummed with translation circuits and the soft murmur of diplomatic pleasantries. Chancellor Vorthak, his four arms gesturing grandly, addressed the assembly from the central podium. "The war is behind us, fellow beings. We have achieved what many thought impossible, lasting peace through." The chamber's massive doors slammed open with a sound like thunder. Rex strode through the entrance, his weathered face set in stone, green eyes scanning the shocked assembly with predatory focus. His boots echoed against the polished floor as he walked the central aisle, ignoring the rustle of alarm that swept through the gathered delegates. Behind him, Akira moved with feline grace, her brown eyes cataloging every exit, every face, every subtle reaction. "Chancellor," Rex's voice cut through the stunned silence, carrying the weight of authority earned through blood and sacrifice. "We need to talk." Vorthak's bioluminescent patches flared in agitation. "Commander Rex, I presume? Your species was not invited to this summit. The Concord has no business with—" "The Concord has plenty of business with us." Rex stopped directly before the podium, his scarred hands clenched at his sides. "We're here to collect what's owed." A ripple of nervous laughter spread through the alien delegates. The Zephyrian ambassador, her crystalline form chiming softly, spoke first. "Collect? What could a species that barely survived the war possibly claim from the Concord?" Akira stepped forward, her head tilted slightly as she studied the ambassador. "Reparations. For the war crimes committed against human colonies, for the civilians massacred on Kepler 42b, for the medical experiments conducted on prisoners at Titan Station." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Chancellor Vorthak's four arms spread wide in a gesture of dismissal. "Baseless accusations. The Concord fought an honorable war." "Honorable?" Rex's voice was deadly quiet. "Tell that to the families of the 30,000 civilians you vaporized on New Shanghai. Tell that to the children who watched their parents dissected for research purposes." The alien liaison, a lanky being with translucent skin that pulsed with soft blue light, unfolded its elongated limbs nervously. "Commander, surely you understand the complexities of wartime decisions." "What I understand," Rex interrupted, his jaw set like granite, "is that peace doesn't erase accountability. We have evidence, we have testimony, we have the names of every officer who gave those orders." Akira's fingers tapped a steady rhythm against her thigh as she watched the delegates' reactions. Several were shifting uncomfortably, their bioluminescent patterns flickering with what she recognized as anxiety. Good. They should be nervous. "The war is over," Chancellor Vorthak declared, his voice booming through the chamber's acoustics. "We have all moved forward. Perhaps humanity should consider doing the same." "Moved forward?" Rex's green eyes narrowed. "You mean swept it under the rug, pretended it never happened, declared victory, and called it peace." The enforcer leader, a massive creature with obsidian scales that gleamed like armor, stepped forward from the shadows. Its amber eyes were slits of contempt as it loomed over the humans. "You dare come here and make demands? Your species barely merits recognition, let alone reparations." Rex didn't flinch. He'd faced down worse monsters than this one. "Recognition? We're not asking for recognition. We're demanding justice." "Justice?" The Zephyrian ambassador's chimes took on a discordant note. "What justice could insects like you possibly—" "The kind that makes sure everyone knows what you really did out there." Akira's voice was precise, cutting through the alien's words like a blade. "The kind that exposes every buried file, every covered-up massacre, every lie you've told to maintain your precious peace." The alien liaison's bioluminescence flared brighter, its patterns shifting to what Rex had learned was distress. "You cannot simply barge in here and—" "We just did." Rex's scarred hand moved to rest on the datapad at his belt. "We have 6 months of investigation. 6 months of digging through databases, interviewing survivors, tracking down witnesses. 6 months of building a case that will make your war crimes impossible to ignore." Chancellor Vorthak's four arms trembled slightly. "Even if such irregularities occurred, the Concord has moved beyond such matters. We have established new protocols. New protocols don't bring back the dead. Rex's voice carried the weight of every funeral he'd attended, every memorial service he'd spoken at. But they might prevent future atrocities, if everyone knows the price of crossing the line. The chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of the translation circuits. Rex could feel the weight of 100 alien gazes, could sense the calculations running behind their varied forms of eyes. They were trying to decide if humanity was a threat to be eliminated or a problem to be managed. You want to know what's really interesting? Akira's voice carried a note of dark amusement. We found something in the databases, something hidden so deep it took us months to crack the encryption. The alien liaison's limbs folded tight against its body. What kind of something? Rex watched as Akira's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The kind that makes war crimes look like a footnote. The kind that makes everyone in this room very, very nervous. The Enforcer leader's tail twitched sharply. You're bluffing. Humans lack the technical capability to what? Akira's head tilted, her brown eyes gleaming with intellectual predator's hunger. To crack your precious security? To dig up your buried secrets? To prove that your peace is built on lies? Rex stepped forward, his presence filling the space between the podium and the assembly. We're not bluffing, we're not going away, and we're not taking no for an answer. The silence stretched like a taut wire. Finally, Chancellor Vorthak's voice emerged, smaller than before. What exactly are you proposing? Justice, Rex said simply, accountability, and the guarantee that this never happens again. The summit hall's gleaming towers gave way to the sprawling metropolis of Nexus Prime, where floating platforms drifted between needle-thin spires and holographic advertisements painted the sky in neon cascades. Rex kept his stride steady despite the city's alien geometry, his green eyes tracking the surveillance drones that buzzed overhead like mechanical insects. 3 security sweeps in the last 10 minutes, Akira murmured, her fingers dancing over her portable scanner. They're definitely nervous. The tech specialist, a stocky human with oil-stained hands and a perpetual grin, whistled low as he watched a transport pod glide past on invisible rails. Gotta admit, boss, their tech is pretty sweet. Anti-grav systems, quantum mesh networking, full-spectrum environmental controls. Stay focused, Rex warned, though his lips twitched at the younger man's enthusiasm. We're not here for a tech convention. The alien liaison's bioluminescent patterns had been flickering erratically since they left the summit. Its elongated limbs moved with nervous energy as it guided them through the city's maze of walkways. Commander, I must protest this investigation. The Concord has procedures. The Concord had procedures during the war, too. Rex's voice was flat. Didn't stop them from burning colonies. They paused at a junction where 5 different levels converged, the architectural impossibility making Rex's inner ear protest. Akira was already scanning the area, her brown eyes dissecting the flow of alien pedestrians, the placement of security checkpoints, the subtle differences in the various species' body language. There, she said, pointing to a maintenance access tucked behind a shimmering energy barrier. That's our way in. The alien liaison's translucent skin pulsed with distress. That area is restricted, only authorized personnel. Good thing we're about to become authorized. The tech specialist was already pulling tools from his pack, his grin widening. Security barriers are just puzzles in disguise. Rex positioned himself to block the view from passing aliens while keeping watch for patrols. His scarred hands remained loose at his sides, ready to move at the first sign of trouble. How long? Give me 5 minutes. Sparks flew as the tech specialist's improvised interface connected with the barrier's control matrix. Maybe 10 if they've got quantum encryption. A group of Zephyrian bureaucrats drifted past, their crystalline forms chiming softly as they discussed trade agreements. One paused, its faceted eyes reflecting the human's position, but Rex met its gaze steadily until it moved on. Commander, the alien liaison whispered, its limbs folding tight against its body. This behavior is most irregular. If discovered, the consequences will be less severe than what happened to the families on Kepler 442b. Akira's voice carried the sharp edge of absolute certainty. We have clearance from Earth Central Command and backing from the Colonial Defense League. Your Concord can file a complaint if they want." The barrier flickered and died with a soft chime. The tech specialist wiped his hands on his pants, leaving fresh oil stains. "Quantum encryption, level 7. Cute, but not exactly cutting edge." They slipped through the access point into a maintenance corridor that stretched into shadow. The air tasted of ozone and recycled atmosphere, and Rex's boots echoed against metal grating. Behind them, the alien liaison's bioluminescence dimmed to barely visible pulses. "This is highly irregular," it repeated, but followed anyway. Akira's scanner painted their path in soft blue light, mapping the corridor's branches and intersections. "According to the architectural plans we accessed, this should connect to the data hub 3 levels down. But there's something else." She paused at a junction, her head tilted as she studied the readings. "Power signatures don't match the official schematics. There's a lot more activity down here than there should be." Rex's instincts prickled. In his experience, when alien bureaucrats started hiding power usage, it usually meant something worth hiding. "Could be our missing facility." The tech specialist's eyes lit up. "Ooh, secret alien bases, this keeps getting better." They descended through a maze of service shafts and maintenance tunnels, the alien city's perfect facade giving way to the functional reality beneath. Here the walls were simple metal and polymer, marked with warning signs in a dozen languages. The air grew cooler as they went deeper, and Rex caught the scent of something that reminded him of burnt electronics. "Movement ahead," Akira whispered, her scanner painting 3 heat signatures around the next corner. Rex's hand moved to his sidearm, but he didn't draw it, yet. "Security patrol?" "Looks like it. Standard patrol pattern, but they're moving toward us." The alien liaison's patterns flared with panic. "We must retreat. If they discover us here—" "They won't." Rex's voice carried the quiet confidence of someone who'd spent years staying one step ahead of superior forces. "Tech, can you loop their sensors?" "Already working on it." The tech specialist's fingers flew over his improvised interface. "Thermal dampeners, active camouflage, and a little bit of creative signal jamming. They'll see exactly what we want them to see." The patrol passed within meters of their hiding spot, 3 alien enforcers in full combat gear. Rex watched their movements, cataloging their equipment, their formation, their response protocols. Information was ammunition, and he was always ready to reload. Once the patrol was gone, they continued deeper into the facility. The corridors branched and twisted, following logic that human minds found difficult to parse. But Akira's scanner never wavered, leading them toward the growing signature of hidden power. "There," she said finally, pointing to a heavy door marked with symbols that seemed to shift in the light. "That's where the power's going. And judging by the quantum signatures, there's some serious processing happening behind that door." The alien liaison's bioluminescence had faded to almost nothing. "Commander, I implore you to reconsider. Some doors are sealed for good reason." Rex studied the alien's trembling limbs, the way its translucent skin seemed to ripple with barely contained fear. "What do you know about this place?" I can't or won't." Akira's brown eyes were sharp as she stepped closer to the alien, "because there's a difference between following protocol and covering up war crimes." The alien liaison's limbs unfolded slightly, a gesture Rex had learned meant surrender. "The facility was classified during the war. Research and development. I was told it was decommissioned." "Research into what?" Rex's voice carried the authority of someone who'd earned answers through blood and sacrifice. "I don't know, above my clearance level, but—" The alien's voice dropped to barely audible. "There were rumors, weapons development, things that violated the Galactic conventions." Rex exchanged a look with Akira. The summit had been about reparations, but this was bigger. This was about preventing future wars. "Tech, can you get us through that door?" The tech specialist was already examining the locking mechanism, his grin fading to professional focus. "This is serious security, military grade, but give me 20 minutes and I'll have us inside." "Do it." Rex positioned himself to watch the approaches, his scarred hands ready for whatever came next. "And once we're in, we document everything. Every file, every experiment, every single piece of evidence." The alien liaison's patterns flickered with what might have been hope. And if we find something that proves the Concord's guilt? Rex's green eyes reflected the alien's fading light. Then we make sure the whole galaxy knows about it. The door opened with a whisper of escaping air, revealing a corridor that stretched into darkness. Rex's enhanced vision picked out the details: reinforced walls, blast doors at regular intervals, and the unmistakable markings of a military facility. The air carried the metallic tang of weapons testing and the ozone scent of high-energy experiments. "Welcome to the Concord's dirty laundry," Akira murmured, her scanner painting the corridor in blue light. "Power signatures are off the charts. Whatever they were doing here, it required serious juice." The tech specialist whistled low as he examined the security systems. "Boss, this place is locked down tighter than a Terran battle station. Motion sensors, thermal imaging, probably some fancy alien tech we haven't even identified yet. Can you disable it? Give me a few minutes." His fingers flew over his improvised interface. "Good thing I brought the quantum scramblers. These alien security systems are elegant, but they're not exactly prepared for human creativity." The alien liaison's bioluminescence had dimmed to barely visible pulses. Its elongated limbs folded tight against its body as it stared into the facility's depths. "Commander, I fear we have ventured beyond the point of diplomatic immunity." "We passed that point when we started digging for the truth." Rex's voice carried the weight of absolute conviction. "Sometimes you have to break a few rules to serve justice." They moved deeper into the facility, their footsteps muffled by the tech specialist's acoustic dampeners. The corridor branched into a maze of laboratories and testing chambers, each sealed behind blast doors that spoke of dangerous experiments. Emergency lighting cast everything in harsh red angles, and Rex's instincts screamed that they were walking into a trap. He was right. The attack came without warning. A dozen Concord enforcers dropping from concealed positions in the ceiling, their obsidian scales gleaming like armor in the emergency lighting. The enforcer leader's amber eyes burned with predatory satisfaction as he leveled his weapon at Rex's chest. "Commander Rex, you have exceeded your authority and violated Concord security protocols. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift." Rex's scarred hands moved with practiced efficiency, his sidearm clearing leather before the alien finished speaking. "Counteroffer. Stand down, and we'll pretend this was a misunderstanding." The enforcer leader's tail twitched with amusement. "Humans, always so confident. Do you truly believe your primitive weapons can match Concord technology? Let's find out." Rex's green eyes never left the alien's amber gaze. "Akira, Tech, you know the drill." The firefight erupted in a chaos of energy beams and kinetic rounds. Rex dove behind a support pillar as plasma bolts scorched the air where he'd been standing. The enforcers moved with deadly precision, their weapons tracking with inhuman accuracy, but they'd made a critical error. They'd underestimated human adaptability. Akira's voice cut through the battle chatter with sharp precision. "Tech, scramble their targeting systems. Rex, third pillar from the left. There's a maintenance shaft behind the blast shielding." The tech specialists' improvised jammers turned the aliens' sophisticated weapons into expensive clubs. Jamming their comm frequencies, too. They're flying blind and deaf now. Rex rolled from cover, his weapon spitting fire as he flanked the confused enforcers. Years of guerrilla warfare had taught him to turn superior technology against itself. The aliens' energy weapons were powerful, but they required complex targeting systems that couldn't function without clear sensor data. "Impossible," the enforcer leader snarled, his massive frame spinning to track Rex's movement. "Your jamming should not affect military-grade systems." "Military-grade by your standards," Rex replied, putting 3 rounds center mass. The alien's armor absorbed the impact, but the force staggered him. "We designed our tech to be simple, reliable, and immune to electronic warfare." The alien liaison cowered behind a blast door, its patterns flickering with terror. But as the battle raged, Rex noticed something else in those patterns, a growing fascination with human tactics. The alien was learning, adapting, beginning to understand what made humanity dangerous. Akira had found the maintenance shaft and was providing covering fire with surgical precision. Each shot disabled sensors, targeting systems, or power conduits. She wasn't trying to kill the aliens, she was systematically dismantling their technological advantages. "Rex," she called, her voice steady despite the chaos. "I've got eyes on the primary server room. Whatever they're hiding, it's in there." The tech specialist's grin had returned as he watched his jury-rigged systems outmatch alien engineering. "Boss, their power grid is about to cascade. We've got maybe 2 minutes before the whole section goes dark." Rex made the calculation instantly. They couldn't win a prolonged firefight against superior numbers and armor, but they didn't need to. They just needed to reach the servers. "Akira, take the liaison and get to that server room. Tech, give us a distraction." "One fireworks show coming up." The tech specialist's hands flew over his controls. "Hope you like the smell of burning alien circuits." The facility's lights strobed once, twice, then died completely. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in shifting red light. The Enforcer's targeting system screamed warnings as their power armor rebooted, leaving them blind and vulnerable. Rex moved like a ghost through the chaos, his enhanced vision giving him every advantage. He reached the Enforcer leader just as the alien systems came back online, pressing his sidearm against the junction where the alien's armor met its neck. "Call them off," Rex's voice was deadly quiet, "or I find out if your armor covers everything." The Enforcer leader's amber eyes burned with fury, but he raised his hand. The other Enforcers froze, their weapons still trained on the humans but no longer firing. "This is not over, Commander. The Concord will not tolerate this transgression." "The Concord has tolerated a lot worse." Rex's scarred finger tightened on the trigger. "War crimes, genocide, experiments on civilians, what's one more transgression?" The alien liaison's voice echoed from the server room, its patterns visible even in the dim light. "Commander Rex, you need to see this immediately." Rex backed away from the Enforcer leader, his weapon never wavering. "Akira, what have you found?" Her voice carried across the facility with the sharp edge of someone who just discovered something terrible. "Evidence, Rex. Enough to bring down the entire Concord leadership. But it's worse than we thought." The Enforcer leader's tail twitched with something that might have been fear. "You do not understand the forces you are tampering with, human. Some secrets are buried for the protection of all. From where I'm standing, the only thing they're protecting is their own guilt." Rex's green eyes never left the alien's face. "Tech, can you download everything?" "Already working on it. But boss, this is going to take time, and judging by the security alerts, we're about to have a lot more company." The alien liaison's bioluminescence flared with something Rex had never seen before: determination. "Commander, I will delay them. This facility, what they did here, it must be exposed." Rex felt a moment of surprise. The alien diplomat had found its spine. "You sure about that? This could end your career." "Some things are more important than careers." The alien liaison's limbs unfolded with new purpose. Justice, perhaps. Truth. The things humanity seems to value above all else. The sound of approaching reinforcements echoed through the facility's corridors. Rex made his decision with the speed of someone who'd spent years making impossible choices. "Akira, grab everything you can. Tech, prepare for emergency extraction. And liaison." Rex's voice carried a note of respect that hadn't been there before. "Welcome to the team." The server room hummed with the deep throb of quantum processors, their crystalline matrices pulsing with data streams that painted the walls in shifting patterns of light. Akira's fingers flew over her portable interface, her brown eyes reflecting the alien script that cascaded across dozens of screens. The air tasted of ozone and the metallic tang of high-energy computing. "This is incredible," she murmured, her voice carrying the excitement of a scholar who'd just discovered a lost civilization. "The Concord's been using quantum encryption layered with temporal displacement algorithms. No wonder it took us months to crack their basic systems." Rex positioned himself at the room's entrance, his scarred hands steady on his weapon as he listened to the approaching footsteps. The Enforcer leader's reinforcements were getting closer, their heavy boots echoing through the facility's corridors like a countdown to disaster. "How long do you need?" he asked, his green eyes scanning the corridor for movement. "The files are massive. Decades of research, experimental data, weapons testing. Akira's fingers never paused in their dance across the interface. But Rex, what I'm seeing here, it's not just war crimes, it's something much worse. The tech specialist had rigged a series of defensive countermeasures around the server room, his improvised barriers crackling with energy. Boss, I've got motion sensors going crazy. We're about to have a lot of angry aliens knocking on our door. The alien liaison's bioluminescent patterns flickered with growing agitation as it watched the data streams. Commander, these files, they are classified at levels I did not know existed. What we are seeing could destabilize the entire galactic order. Sometimes that's exactly what's needed. Rex's voice carried the weight of someone who'd seen too much corruption go unpunished. Akira, talk to me. What exactly are we looking at? She paused in her work, her head tilted as she processed the implications of what she'd found. Project Terminus. It's a weapon system, but not like anything we've seen before. They're not just talking about destroying planets, they're talking about erasing star systems. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Rex had fought in the war, had seen the aftermath of orbital bombardments and antimatter weapons, but this was something else entirely. How? His voice was barely audible. Quantum cascade technology. They found a way to destabilize the fundamental forces that hold matter together. One weapon, properly deployed, could cause a chain reaction that would consume everything in a 20 light-year radius. The tech specialist's hand stilled on his controls. 20 light-years? That's entire sectors, billions of lives. Trillions, Akira corrected, her voice hollow, and according to these files, they were ready to deploy it during the war. The only thing that stopped them was the peace treaty. Rex's scarred hands clenched into fists. The peace treaty that had ended the war, that had supposedly brought stability to the galaxy, it hadn't been about diplomatic wisdom or war weariness. It had been about preventing genocide on a scale that defied comprehension. There's more, Akira continued, her fingers pulling up new data streams. The weapon wasn't just theoretical. They built prototypes, tested them on uninhabited systems, and the test results... She trailed off, her brown eyes wide with horror. What? Rex demanded. The tests worked, but they also discovered something else. The quantum cascade effect isn't controllable. Once it starts, it spreads unpredictably. Their own simulations showed a 30% chance of the reaction spreading beyond the target area. The alien liaison's limbs folded tight against its body, its patterns dim with shock. They were willing to risk destroying the galaxy to win the war? Not just willing, Akira's voice was sharp with anger. According to these command authorizations, they considered it acceptable losses. The phrase they used was galactic restructuring. Rex felt the familiar cold rage building in his chest, the same fury that had driven him through the war and into this mission. But now it was magnified by the sheer scale of what they'd uncovered. The Concord hadn't just committed war crimes, they'd been prepared to commit cosmic genocide. How many people know about this? He asked. Akira's fingers flew over the interface, accessing command hierarchies and authorization levels. According to the access logs, maybe 50 individuals across the entire Concord. High-level scientists, military commanders, political leaders, and... She paused, her expression growing grim. And what? And someone's been accessing these files regularly. Recent access logs show downloads within the last week. Someone's still actively working on this project. The sound of approaching footsteps grew louder, accompanied by the distinctive whine of charging energy weapons. Rex's instincts screamed that they were out of time, but the implications of what they discovered demanded action. Can you trace the access logs? Find out who's been downloading the files. Already working on it. Akira's interface painted new data streams across the screens. The access signature is... Wait, that's not possible. What? The access signature doesn't match any of the authorized personnel. It's coming from outside the Concord entirely. Someone else has been accessing these files. Someone with high-level quantum encryption capabilities. The tech specialist's defensive systems chirped a warning. Boss, we've got company, multiple contacts, heavy weapons, and they're not here to chat. Rex made the calculation instantly. They had maybe minutes before the facility was overrun, but the information they discovered was too important to lose. Akira, download everything. Full archives, command codes, research data, everything. It's too much data. Even with quantum compression, we're looking at hours of transmission time. Then we take what we can and get out. Rex's voice carried the authority of someone who'd made impossible decisions before. Priority files only. War crimes documentation, weapons research, command authorizations. The alien liaison's patterns suddenly flared with urgent light. Commander, there is another way. The facility's emergency broadcast system is still connected to the Galactic communication network. We could transmit the files directly to multiple locations simultaneously. Akira's eyes lit up with understanding. A distributed upload. Even if they intercept part of it, pieces would get through, but we'd need to modify the broadcast protocols. I can handle that, the tech specialist said, his grin returning despite the approaching danger. Give me access to the communications array, and I'll turn their own system against them. Rex felt the familiar surge of pride in his team. Faced with impossible odds, they'd found a way to turn the situation to their advantage. It was what humans did best: adapt, improvise, overcome. Do it, he ordered. But be ready to move fast once the upload starts. They're going to know exactly what we're doing. The first energy bolt scorched the air outside the server room, followed by the Enforcer leader's booming voice. Commander Rex, your position is surrounded. Surrender now, and we will consider clemency. Rex's scarred finger tightened on his weapon's trigger. Counteroffer. Stand down, and we'll consider not exposing your species' plan for galactic genocide. The silence that followed was more telling than any response. The Enforcer leader knew exactly what they'd found, and his reaction confirmed its importance. The upload is starting, Akira announced, her voice tight with concentration. But Rex, there's something else. The recent access logs I mentioned? They're not just downloading files. They're uploading new data. Someone's been updating the weapon specifications, improving the designs. Rex's blood ran cold. Someone still working on the project? Not just working on it, perfecting it. And according to the timestamps, they uploaded new modifications yesterday. The implications hit Rex like a physical blow. The war was over, but someone was still preparing for the next one. Someone with access to the most dangerous weapon in galactic history was making it even more deadly. How long for the upload? 15 minutes for the priority files. But Rex, if someone's still developing this weapon, then we need to find them before they finish. Rex's green eyes burned with determination. And we need to make sure the galaxy knows what's coming. The safe house crouched in the ruins of an old industrial district, its walls reinforced with human-made armor plating that gleamed dully in the light of jury-rigged power cells. The air tasted of recycled atmosphere and the metallic tang of improvised electronics. Rex paced the small space like a caged predator, his scarred hands clenched as he waited for Akira to finish her analysis. The decryption is complete, she announced, her brown eyes reflecting the glow of multiple screens. And Rex, you need to see this. The tech specialist looked up from his improvised workstation, his perpetual grin fading as he caught the tone in Akira's voice. Bad news? Worse than bad. Akira's fingers flew over her interface, bringing up data streams that painted the walls in shifting patterns of light. The weapon project wasn't just a Concord initiative. They had help. Lots of help. Rex stopped pacing, his green eyes fixed on the screens. What kind of help? Species that were supposedly neutral during the war. The Zephyrian Collective, the Helion Republic, even the Tau Cygni Federation. They all contributed resources, technology, personnel. Akira's voice carried the sharp edge of someone who just discovered a fundamental truth about the universe. The Concord didn't develop this weapon alone. They had partners. The alien liaison's bioluminescent patterns flickered with shock, its elongated limbs trembling as it processed the implications. That is impossible. The Helion Republic remained neutral throughout the conflict. They provided humanitarian aid, not weapons research. According to these files, they provided quantum computing matrices and exotic matter containment systems. Akira's interface painted new data across the screens. The Zephyrians contributed their expertise in dimensional manipulation. The Tau Cygni provided the theoretical framework for the cascade effect. Rex felt the familiar cold fury building in his chest, but now it was tempered by something else, a growing understanding of the scope of what they were facing. So the neutral species weren't neutral at all. They were working with the Concord to develop a weapon of galactic genocide. It gets worse. Akira's fingers brought up new files, command authorizations stamped with official seals. The betrayal goes deeper than collaboration. The Concord used the peace negotiations as cover to steal technology from their own allies. The tech specialist's hand stilled on his controls. Steal technology? From who? Everyone. Akira's voice was hollow with the weight of discovery. The Kytherian Empire contributed bioweapons research, thinking they were helping develop defensive countermeasures. The Concord took their data and used it to create targeted viral agents. The Centauri Alliance provided shield technology for colony defense. The Concord reverse-engineered it to create shield-penetrating weapons. Rex's scarred hands clenched into fists. They betrayed everyone. Allies, enemies, neutral parties. They used the war as an excuse to steal from the entire galaxy. And now they're using the peace as cover to perfect the ultimate weapon. Akira's brown eyes burned with intellectual fury. Every species that contributed to the war effort, every technology that was shared for mutual defense, it's all been perverted into components for Project Terminus. The alien liaison's patterns had dimmed to barely visible pulses, its limbs folded tight against its body. Commander, if this information is accurate, the implications are staggering. The Concord has not just committed war crimes, they have betrayed the fundamental principles of galactic civilization. How many species? Rex's voice was deadly quiet. Akira's interface cycled through file after file of stolen research, betrayed trust, and perverted science. 73 confirmed contributors, including 12 species that were officially neutral. And the safe house crouched in the ruins of an old industrial district, its walls reinforced with human-made armor plating that gleamed dully in the light of jury-rigged power cells. The air tasted of recycled atmosphere and the metallic tang of improvised electronics. Rex paced the small space like a caged predator, his scarred hands clenched as he waited for Akira to finish her analysis. "The decryption is complete," she announced, her brown eyes reflecting the glow of multiple screens. "And Rex, you need to see this." The tech specialist looked up from his improvised workstation, his perpetual grin fading as he caught the tone in Akira's voice. "Bad news?" "Worse than bad." Akira's fingers flew over her interface, bringing up data streams that painted the walls in shifting patterns of light. The weapon project wasn't just a Concord initiative. They had help. Lots of help. Rex stopped pacing, his green eyes fixed on the screens. What kind of help? Species that were supposedly neutral during the war. The Zephyrian Collective, the Helion Republic, even the Tau Cygni Federation. They all contributed resources, technology, personnel. Akira's voice carried the sharp edge of someone who just discovered a fundamental truth about the universe. The Concord didn't develop this weapon alone. They had partners. The alien liaison's bioluminescent patterns flickered with shock, its elongated limbs trembling as it processed the implications. That is impossible. The Helion Republic remained neutral throughout the conflict. They provided humanitarian aid, not weapons research. According to these files, they provided quantum computing matrices and exotic matter containment systems. Akira's interface painted new data across the screens. The Zephyrians contributed their expertise in dimensional manipulation. The Tau Cygni provided the theoretical framework for the cascade effect. Rex felt the familiar cold fury building in his chest, but now it was tempered by something else, a growing understanding of the scope of what they were facing. So the neutral species weren't neutral at all. They were working with the Concord to develop a weapon of galactic genocide. It gets worse. Akira's fingers brought up new files, command authorizations stamped with official seals. The betrayal goes deeper than collaboration. The Concord used the peace negotiations as cover to steal technology from their own allies. The tech specialist's hand stilled on his controls. Steal technology from who? Everyone. Akira's voice was hollow with the weight of discovery. The Kytherian Empire contributed bioweapons research, thinking they were helping develop defensive countermeasures. The Concord took their data and used it to create targeted viral agents. The Centauri Alliance provided shield technology for colony defense. The Concord reverse-engineered it to create shield-penetrating weapons. Rex's scarred hands clenched into fists. They betrayed everyone. Allies, enemies, neutral parties. They used the war as an excuse to steal from the entire galaxy. And now they're using the peace as cover to perfect the ultimate weapon. Akira's brown eyes burned with intellectual fury. Every species that contributed to the war effort, every technology that was shared for mutual defense, it's all been perverted into components for Project Terminus. The alien liaison's patterns had dimmed to barely visible pulses, its limbs folded tight against its body. Commander, if this information is accurate, the implications are staggering. The Concord has not just committed war crimes, they have betrayed the fundamental principles of galactic civilization. How many species? Rex's voice was deadly quiet. Akira's interface cycled through file after file of stolen research, betrayed trust, and perverted science. 73 confirmed contributors, including 12 species that were officially neutral, and the most recent access logs show that the individual updating Project Terminus is not just an outsider, but someone with a deep understanding of all these disparate technologies, someone who could synthesize them into something truly terrifying. The revelation hung heavy in the air, a suffocating blanket of betrayal and impending doom. Rex closed his eyes, picturing the faces of the families on New Shanghai, the children on Kepler 442b. He'd thought he was fighting for justice for the past, but now he realized he was fighting for the future of the entire galaxy. "Who is it, Akira?" Rex's voice was a low growl. "Who is this phantom developer?" Akira's fingers flew across the holographic display, tracing encrypted pathways, cross-referencing data signatures with known galactic entities. The access signature is cloaked, layered with multiple quantum proxies. It's brilliant, actually. Designed to look like random noise, but there's a pattern, a signature in the noise itself. The tech specialist, who had been quietly working on a new comms array, looked up, his eyes narrowed in concentration. A signature in the noise? That sounds like a human design principle. Elegance in chaos, simple but effective. Rex's head snapped up. "Are you saying it's human?" Akira nodded slowly, her expression grim. The underlying architecture of the encryption, the way it prioritizes efficiency over brute force security, it's undeniably human. But not Earth Central Command, not Colonial Defense League. This is a rogue element, someone with access to highly advanced, perhaps even black market human tech. The alien liaison, whose patterns had begun to regain some light, now dimmed again, its limbs trembling. A human developing a weapon of such magnitude after what your species endured? "That's the ultimate betrayal, isn't it?" Rex said, a bitter taste in his mouth. "Someone from our own kind, using our ingenuity for galactic destruction." He thought of the whispers, the fringe groups, the radical ideologies that had festered in the shadows of humanity's expansion, the ones who believed in human supremacy, in a galaxy purged of all other life. Could this be their ultimate play? "Can you trace it?" Rex asked, his voice sharp with urgency. "Find the source of these uploads?" "It's a distributed network," Akira explained, pointing to a swirling nebula of data points on the screen. "The uploads are coming from multiple hidden nodes across different star systems. They're bouncing the signal, making it almost impossible to pinpoint a single origin. But there's a central hub, a nexus point where the compiled data is being stored before distribution." "Where is it?" Akira zoomed in on the holographic map, a single isolated star system appearing in the center of the display. "The Cathar Expanse, specifically an uncharted rogue planetoid within the Cathar Nebula. It's a dead zone, no official trade routes, no established colonies. Perfect for hiding something like this." The Cathar Expanse was notorious. A swirling cloud of gas and dust, riddled with gravitational anomalies and rogue asteroids, it was a graveyard for ships that strayed too far from charted paths. Only the most desperate or the most secretive ventured there. A rogue human element, developing a galaxy-killing weapon in a forgotten corner of space with stolen alien tech, Rex summarized, the pieces clicking into place with a sickening thud. "They're not just perfecting Project Terminus, they're building it. and they're planning to use it. The latest upload, Akira continued, her voice grim, was a finalization sequence, a deployment protocol. They're not just developing it anymore, Rex. They're ready to activate it. The tech specialist slammed his fist on his console. We have to stop them. If that thing goes off, it's not just the Concord, it's everyone. We will, Rex said, his voice calm despite the storm raging inside him. But we can't go in blind. We need more information. How many of them are there? What kind of defenses do they have? And most importantly, what's their timeline? Akira brought up projected deployment scenarios from the stolen data. The protocols indicate a window of opportunity. They're waiting for a specific astronomical alignment, a rare conjunction of nebulae that would maximize the cascade effect's reach. It's in 3 days. 3 days. Not enough time for a full-scale military deployment, not enough time to rally the fractured galactic powers. It would have to be a surgical strike, a human solution to a human problem. Liaison, Rex addressed the alien diplomat whose patterns were now a chaotic swirl of fear and dawning understanding. You've seen the truth, the Concord's betrayal, the threat of Project Terminus. What will you do? The alien liaison's elongated limbs slowly unfurled, its translucent skin pulsing with a newfound resolve. I will transmit this information to my people, to the other neutral species. This cannot remain a secret. The Concord must be exposed, and this weapon, it must be stopped. Good, Rex said, a flicker of grim satisfaction in his eyes. But be warned, the Concord will try to silence you, and the other species, they may not believe you at first. This changes everything. Then we will make them believe, the liaison declared, its voice gaining strength. The truth, Commander, is a powerful weapon in itself. Rex nodded. Akira, Tech, prepare a jump drive. We're going to the Cathar Expanse. We're going to find this rogue human element, and we're going to stop Project Terminus before it can destroy the galaxy. The journey to the Cathar Expanse was a blur of hyperspace jumps and evasive maneuvers through treacherous asteroid fields. The Vanguard, a heavily modified human scout ship, was small but fast, its stealth systems enhanced by the tech specialist's ingenious modifications. Inside the cramped cockpit, the tension was palpable. Approaching Cathar Nebula, Akira announced, her fingers dancing over the navigation console. Sensors are picking up severe gravitational fluctuations, and a faint energy signature. It's cloaked, but it's there. That's our target, Rex confirmed, his eyes fixed on the swirling gas clouds on the main view screen. He felt a grim satisfaction. This wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about survival. Dropping out of hyperspace in T-minus 60 seconds, the tech specialist chirped, his focus absolute. Get ready for a bumpy ride. The Vanguard lurched violently as it exited hyperspace, buffeted by the chaotic energies of the nebula. Asteroids, some the size of small moons, drifted silently through the void, their surfaces scarred by eons of cosmic collisions. Cloaking active, Akira confirmed. We're a ghost in the machine, but their energy signature is strengthening. They're definitely here. The rogue planetoid was a dark, jagged silhouette against the distant stars, its surface pockmarked with craters. As they drew closer, Rex could make out faint lights, almost imperceptible against the blackness. A hidden base. Scanning for entry points, Akira murmured. Looks like a single primary access tunnel, heavily shielded, and multiple automated defense turrets. Quantum-linked, probably. Standard procedure for a doomsday cult, Rex grunted. Tech, can you get us through that shield? Working on it, boss, the tech specialist replied, his brow furrowed in concentration. Their shield harmonics are unusual, adaptive. This isn't just off-the-shelf tech. Because it's human, Rex said, a cold certainty in his voice. They're using our own ingenuity against us. Suddenly, the Vanguard shuddered. Warning lights flared on the console. We've been detected, Akira exclaimed. Passive scan, they're probing our cloaking field. They're good, Rex admitted, a grudging respect in his voice, but not good enough. He activated the ship's evasive thrusters, sending the Vanguard weaving through the asteroid field, a deadly dance of cat and mouse. Energy beams lanced out from the planetoid, narrowly missing their hull. The automated turrets had locked on. Shields are holding, but barely, the tech specialist yelled. I need more time to crack their main access. Buy us some, Rex ordered, his voice calm. He took the helm, his hands moving instinctively over the controls, He'd flown through worse, much worse. Akira began firing the Vanguard's light kinetic cannons, not aiming for destruction, but for disruption. Each shot was precise, targeting the turret's sensor arrays, blinding them one by one. The tech specialist, meanwhile, was a blur of motion, his fingers flying across his interface, trying to find a weakness in the planetoid's defenses. "Got it," he shouted suddenly. "A back door, a legacy system they forgot to patch. It's crude, but it'll work." A section of the planetoid's shield flickered, then died. "Go!" Rex roared, pushing the Vanguard into a dive straight for the newly opened access tunnel. They plunged into the darkness, the tunnel closing behind them with a deafening thud. The air inside was stale, metallic. The Vanguard landed with a soft thud in a cavernous hangar bay, empty except for a single, sleek, human-designed shuttle. "They're preparing for departure," Akira observed, her eyes scanning the bay. "That shuttle, it's a high-speed interdictor, designed for quick, untraceable jumps." "They're planning to activate Project Terminus and then vanish," Rex concluded. "We can't let that happen." They disembarked, their weapons drawn. The hangar bay was eerily silent, save for the hum of distant machinery. This was a trap, Rex knew, but they had no choice. "Tech, stay with the ship. Get us ready for an immediate jump once we have the data. Akira, liaison with me." They moved through the base, a labyrinth of reinforced corridors and sterile laboratories. The air grew colder as they descended, and the hum of machinery intensified. This was a place of dark secrets, of forbidden knowledge. "Energy signatures are off the charts down here," Akira whispered, her scanner painting a glowing core at the heart of the facility. "That's it, Project Terminus." Suddenly, a voice echoed through the comms, amplified and distorted. "Commander Rex, I knew you would come. Humanity's relentless pursuit of justice is so predictable." The voice was human, male, and chillingly calm. "Who are you?" Rex demanded, his weapon raised. "A visionary, a pragmatist, someone who understands that true peace can only be achieved through absolute control." The voice chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. "You call it genocide. I call it galactic restructuring, a necessary culling to ensure a stable future." "You're insane," Akira spat. "Am I?" the voice countered. "Look at the galaxy, Commander. Endless wars, petty squabbles, species clinging to outdated notions of sovereignty. It's a cancer, and I am the surgeon." They reached a massive blast door, etched with symbols that pulsed with faint energy. Behind it, the energy signature of Project Terminus pulsed like a dying heart. "You won't stop me," the voice declared. "The activation sequence is already initiated. In T-minus 10 minutes, the galaxy will be reborn." "Tech, can you get us through this door?" Rex barked into his comm. "It's quantum-locked, boss," the tech specialist replied, his voice strained. "And it's tied into their main power grid. If I force it, I might trigger a system-wide lockdown." "We don't have time for subtlety," Rex yelled. "Akira, liaison, cover me!" He slammed his shoulder into the blast door, then again and again, the reinforced metal groaning under the impact. He was a human battering ram, fueled by fury and desperation. The alien liaison, its pattern swirling with a mixture of fear and awe, stepped forward. "Commander, allow me!" Its elongated limbs glowed with a faint energy, and it placed its hands on the blast door. A strange, resonant hum filled the air, and the symbols on the door flared. "What are you doing?" Rex asked, surprised. "My species, we have an innate understanding of energy manipulation," the liaison explained, its voice strained. "A diplomatic skill, usually, but in this case, a key." The blast door shuddered, then slid open with a hiss of escaping air. Beyond it lay a vast chamber, dominated by a towering crystalline construct that hummed with immense power. It was Project Terminus in all its terrifying glory. And standing before it, his back to them, was a lone human figure. He turned slowly, a tall, gaunt man with eyes that held the cold, detached gaze of a fanatic. He wore a simple, unadorned uniform, and his hands were clasped behind his back. "Welcome, Commander Rex," he said, his voice the same one they'd heard over the comms. "I am Director Thorne, and you are too late." "Thorne," Rex repeated, the name unfamiliar. "You're a traitor to humanity, to the galaxy." "I am a savior," Thorne corrected, a faint smile playing on his lips. "I saw the truth that the Concord tried to bury, the truth that your species in its naivete refused to acknowledge, that peace is an illusion, that true order can only be forged through absolute power. "You're going to destroy billions of lives," Akira shouted, her weapon leveled. "A necessary sacrifice," Thorn replied, his gaze sweeping over them. "The universe is too chaotic, too untamed. Project Terminus will bring a new era, an era of controlled evolution, guided by a single, unwavering hand." Rex felt a chill. This wasn't just about power, it was about a twisted ideology. "How did you get access to this technology?" Rex demanded. "The Concord's deepest secrets?" Thorn's smile widened. "The Concord is a house of cards, Commander, built on lies and fear. Their security was a joke to anyone who truly understood quantum entanglement. I simply unlocked what they had hidden. And then I improved upon it. Humanity's genius combined with alien ignorance." He gestured to the towering weapon. "The final modifications were uploaded just yesterday. The astronomical alignment is perfect. The galaxy will be purged of its imperfections, and from the ashes a new order will rise." "Not on our watch," Rex said and fired. Thorn moved with surprising speed, a personal shield shimmering into existence around him, deflecting Rex's kinetic rounds. He was armed not with a conventional weapon, but with a gauntlet that crackled with energy. "A futile gesture, Commander," Thorn said, a beam of energy lancing from his gauntlet, forcing Rex to dive for cover. Akira opened fire, her precise shots targeting Thorn's shield, trying to find a weak point. The alien liaison, meanwhile, began to emit a high-pitched hum, its pattern swirling rapidly, attempting to disrupt the weapon's energy signature. "Tech status report," Rex yelled into his comm. "Boss, I'm getting massive energy fluctuations from the weapon," the tech specialist replied, his voice filled with alarm. "It's charging! The countdown is accelerating!" 5 minutes to activation." Thorn's voice echoed through the chamber, filled with chilling triumph. "Witness the dawn of a new era." Rex knew they couldn't fight Thorn and disable the weapon simultaneously. One had to be prioritized, and the weapon was the greater threat. "Akira, keep him busy. Liaison, focus your energy on disrupting the weapon's core," Rex ordered. Then he sprinted for the base of Project Terminus. Thorn unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, forcing Akira to weave and dodge, her return fire precise but unable to penetrate his personal shield. The alien liaison, its entire body glowing, directed a focused beam of energy at the crystalline core of Project Terminus. The weapon shuddered, its hum fluctuating wildly. "Foolish!" Thorn roared, turning his attention to the liaison, firing a blast that sent the alien diplomat sprawling. "Liaison!" Akira cried, momentarily distracted. This was Rex's chance. He reached the base of the weapon, his scarred hands searching for an access panel, a weakness, anything. He knew nothing about alien quantum cascade technology, but he knew about human engineering. There had to be a failsafe, a manual override. "You cannot stop it!" Thorn's voice boomed as he engaged Akira in a deadly dance of energy and evasion. Rex found a panel hidden beneath a holographic display. It was locked with a complex alien mechanism. He pulled out his multi-tool, its plasma torch flaring. The tech specialist's earlier words echoed in his mind, "Security barriers are just puzzles in disguise." He began to cut, sparks flying, the metallic tang of burning circuits filling the air. The weapon's hum intensified, a high-pitched whine that vibrated through the floor. 1 minute to activation." Thorn's voice was triumphant. Akira was bleeding from a graze on her arm, but she kept firing, forcing Thorn to remain on the defensive. The alien liaison, though injured, slowly began to rise, its patterns flickering with renewed determination, its gaze fixed on the weapon's core. Rex felt the heat of the plasma torch against his hand, the smell of ozone burning his nostrils. He saw the intricate alien circuitry, the glowing conduits. This was it, the heart of the beast. He jammed his multi-tool into the exposed wiring, bypassing the alien lock, and began to hotwire the system, relying on instinct and years of improvising under fire. He didn't understand the alien logic, but he understood power grids. He understood overload. 30 seconds! Thorn roared, his energy gauntlet glowing with a final desperate charge. Rex felt a surge of energy from the weapon, a raw, untamed power that threatened to overwhelm him. He gritted his teeth, pushing through the pain, forcing the circuits to cross, to short, to fail. "No!" Thorn screamed, seeing Rex's intent. He broke off from Akira, firing a massive blast at Rex. Akira threw herself forward, intercepting the blast with her own body, a desperate act of self-sacrifice. The energy hit her, sending her flying, her body limp. "Akira!" Rex cried, his heart lurching. But there was no time. The weapon was reaching critical mass. With a final, desperate surge of strength, Rex ripped the wires, tearing them from their conduits. A shower of sparks erupted, followed by a deafening shriek of tortured machinery. The towering crystalline construct of Project Terminus shuddered violently, then began to crack. Thorne stared, his eyes wide with disbelief and horror. "Impossible! You destroyed it!" The weapon began to collapse in on itself, the immense energy it had contained imploding with a terrifying roar. Rex dove for cover as shards of crystalline material exploded outwards, followed by a wave of raw, destabilized quantum energy. The chamber was plunged into darkness, the only light coming from the dying embers of the weapon and the flickering emergency lights that struggled to come online. Silence, a ringing silence, broken only by Rex's ragged breaths. He pushed himself up, his body aching, his ears ringing. "Akira!" he called out, his voice hoarse. A groan. "Still here, boss." Akira's voice, weak but defiant, came from the shadows. She was battered, bruised, but alive. Her tactical suit had absorbed most of the blast, but it was scorched and smoking. The alien liaison crawled towards them, its patterns dim but steady. "The weapon, it is gone." Rex looked at the ruins of Project Terminus, a pile of smoldering debris. They had done it. They had stopped the end of the galaxy. Suddenly a faint sound, a cough. Rex spun, his weapon raised. Thorne lay on the floor, his personal shield gauntlet shattered, his body broken. He looked up at Rex, his eyes still burning with fanaticism, but now tinged with despair. You have doomed us all," Thorne whispered, blood trickling from his lips. "The chaos, it will consume everything." Rex knelt beside him, his face grim. "No, Thorne, we've given the galaxy a chance to build a true peace, not one based on lies and fear." Thorne's eyes glazed over, his breath rattling. "You don't understand the true nature of power." His voice faded, and he went still. Rex stood, looking down at the man who had almost destroyed everything, a human, twisted by his own ideology, convinced he was a savior. It was a stark reminder of the darkness that could lurk even within humanity. "Tech status report," Rex said into his comm, his voice regaining its usual firmness. "Boss! You guys okay? What happened? The whole place went dark." The tech specialist's voice crackled with relief. "We're alive. Project Terminus is destroyed. Thorne is no longer a threat. Get the Vanguard ready. We're getting out of here." "On it, boss. Already got the jump drive spooled up." They made their way back to the hangar bay, Akira leaning heavily on Rex, the alien liaison supporting her on the other side. The base was silent, the automated defenses offline. The Vanguard waited, a beacon of hope in the darkness. As they lifted off, leaving the ruined planetoid behind, Rex looked out at the swirling Cathar Nebula. The galaxy was safe for now, but the fight wasn't over. The information they had uploaded, the truth about the Concord's betrayal and the involvement of the neutral species, would ignite a firestorm. The alien liaison, its patterns now a steady, calm light, spoke. "My people, they will be shocked, but they will listen. The truth cannot be denied." "It's going to be a messy peace," Akira said, her voice still weak, "but at least it will be a real one." Rex nodded. The Concord would fall. The species that had collaborated in secret would be exposed. There would be trials, recriminations, and a painful rebuilding of trust. But from the ashes of betrayal, a new galactic order could emerge, one built on transparency, accountability, and genuine cooperation. "We're not done yet," Rex said, looking out at the endless stars. This was just the beginning. The Vanguard jumped into hyperspace, leaving the Cathar expanse behind. Their mission was accomplished, but their work was far from over. The galaxy now knew the truth, and humanity, once dismissed as a minor species, had become its unlikely harbinger of justice. The war was over, but the fight for a true, lasting peace had just begun, and humanity, with its stubborn refusal to back down, was ready for it. The Concord's reign of deceit was over, and the dawn of a new, uncertain but honest, galactic era had arrived.